Hi everybody, I'm Tracy Lysne and I am a member here at Trinity, and I am lucky enough to get to deliver a little children's message to you all today based on today's lesson. Today's story was called The Parable of the Weeds, and after I read that story, unfortunately I have to say, I thought of my garden, and I ran out to my garden and I grabbed a bouquet of flowers. And in my bouquet, I have lots of different things. You might even recognize some of them. So this, you probably know what this one is. Yeah, it's a daisy. And this is one of my favorites. This is a lily. Yeah, some of you got that one. This one might be unusual to you. This is called bee balm. The bees love this. And then I have a cone flower. I have some clover. I love clover. And then one of my girls' favorite flowers when they would bring me bouquets when they were little. Yep, the dandelion. And then I don't know what this little yellow guy down here is, but it's pretty and it's growing in my garden. So when I look at my bouquet, it really made me think about the story today, because today's story was about wheat and it was about weeds. And as you know, some of these things in my bouquet are considered weeds. Yeah, the dandelion's considered a weed, and I think the clover's considered a weed. And it made me think about what Jesus might have been trying to tell us in this story today. And one of the things I think that this parable of the weeds might be about is this idea of that he's trying to talk to us about real Christians and people who pretend to be Christians. Just like in my bouquet, I have real flowers and then things that might be pretending to be real flowers. And what Jesus was telling the people in his message, in his parable, was that sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. It's hard to tell the difference between the flowers and the weeds, or the real Christians and people pretending to be Christians. But what Jesus says is that it's not our job to decide. We don't have to make that decision. It's not our job to judge other people, and it's really God's job to do that. He didn't want us to have to think about that, because God's going to make that decision. God's going to figure that out, and has figured it out, and will figure it out and share that with us when he returns. So we don't have to get caught up in, starting arguments and big fights and judging people, because it's not our job to do that. Our job, what God says, our job is to love one another and to be examples of Jesus by loving God and loving others. So I think that is what today's message is about. So as you think about flowers in the garden, it's not my job to decide which are the flowers and which are the weeds. There are other people there are experts who do that, and God is the best expert of all. So I don't have to make the decision or worry about which are weeds and which aren't weeds, because that's not my job to decide. That is the floral experts to decide. God calls us to love, not to be judged. That's today's lesson, at least how I think it might portray to our lives. Have a great day, and it's so great to see you. Bye-bye.